Microtransactions continue to become a worse problem. 2019 was bad. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the 10 worst microtransactions of 2019. Starting off at number 10, it's Anthem. Anthem has got a lot of problems, and its microtransactions are of course a big part of that. The actual pricing of the in-game currency is pretty standard, scummy microtransaction stuff. 500 shards for 650, armor packs cost 850 shards, patterns cost 300, emotes cost 400. You're never going to be able to buy the amount of in-game currency you need to buy one thing. You'll always be left with some random goofy amount, and that's of course the standard for in-game currency. BioWare of course didn't invent that. I just wanted to explain basically why people are annoyed with in-game currency in general. It's not really that makes Anthem's microtransactions some of the worst of the year, it's just how bad they are. In a game that's all about customizing your mech, really making the suit your own, almost all the customization features are locked behind microtransactions. Throw in the fact that you can only buy 2 sets of armor at any given time, and it takes multiple days for anything new to go on sale, and the game's so short, you'll probably be done with it by the time something else comes out anyway, and yeah, it's all around bad. You know how some games with microtransactions don't want to make a big deal out of them? Well, not this game. The cosmetic store is right there on your menu. You have to pass by it every time you want to switch by your map in your social tab. And there's maybe the most cringy conversation in any BioWare game where a merchant guy named Prospero really tries to sell you on using the in-game store, which also involves your character enthusiastically agreeing that he, the player, should buy something. It is shameless. Moving on to number 9, Dead or Alive 6's ridiculous costume prices and crappy costumes in general. The Dead or Alive series went all in on microtransactions when DOA 5 went free to play, and now they're bringing that scheme of selling you a ton of identical ugly costumes to put on its characters to DOA 6. All told, DOA 5 now has over $1,000 worth of DLC, and it seems like DOA 6 is planning on giving that game a run for its money. There's already been 3 season passes for this game, each one costing $80, and what do you get? Mostly all the girls wearing the same outfit with very minor alterations, like a schoolgirl outfit, maid outfit, or whatever. Super creative, right? The game came out this year, and there's over 300 separate microtransaction listings on Steam. It's absolutely nuts, it's unquestionably lazy, and it just sucks. Coming in at number 8, Mortal Kombat 11 and its grindy mobile stuff. And Mortal Kombat 11 is actually a really good game, but the mobile timers, the premium currency, and the microtransactions are a real drag. These days, it's not so bad, but at release, it was terrible. Here's how it worked. Basically, if you wanted to unlock skins and stuff for your combatant, you needed to either unlock them in the crypt with one of the 3 kinds of in-game currency, the hardest to get, hearts, you'd get every time you did a fatality. You'd need 50 in order to open a heart container, and that's just 1 container. Or you could earn them by completing these towers of time, which change over every couple hours or days or whatever, depending on the tower. It wouldn't be so bad, but at release, these towers were insanely hard. And you pretty much had to get on these microtransaction boosters that made the battles a little easier in order to get through them. And that was by far the worst thing. The towers weren't just these fun things you could do to get rewards, they felt like work. And there's always the worry you'd use a consumable and couldn't win the fight. Then, sorry, it's gone. Better go buy some more in the cash shop. Thankfully, NetherRealms made the towers significantly easier, and they've made it so the consumables are plentiful, and they've made it so you get a ton of in-game currency pretty easily, which is surprisingly tolerable now. But at launch, it was terrible. And on to number 7, NBA 2K20's Casino. It's literally a casino. Like, people already complain about how predatory the booster pack My Team systems are in 2K games, which you can spend in-game currency to randomly draw cards for your team, which do not carry over between games, so any money you spent last year is worthless. But with this casino, they're making it even more blatant. You're not just playing the game to earn packs and in-game stuff, you're playing casino games to do it. You can, of course, buy in-game currency, and because that in-game currency can't be changed over to real money, you're not really gambling, but you're gambling. Just another obfuscation to get people to spend money on worthless prizes in a game they already spent $60 on. If you're gonna do that kind of thing, at least make the microtransactions in some way not awful. Number 6, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled's snuck-in microtransactions. Here's an annoying trend in games. Publishers and developers sneaking in microtransactions after the game is released, which is becoming an increasingly common tactic, and they do it just so the game doesn't get any negative press at release over the inclusion of microtransactions, and then they just add them a few months later after websites have moved on. Call of Duty's been doing it for years now, and pretty ridiculously, Crash Team Racing did it. Although big shocker, both Activision titles, there's the correlation. If you played the game for a little while after release, you probably saw it coming. The story mode, which is pretty much identical to the original game, is completely unchanged, but the new Grand Prix level stuff is pure free to play. There's limited time events, a Fortnite-like season pass, and challenges you have to complete to level up and earn stuff for the season. Originally, this Grand Prix mode didn't have any microtransactions. You couldn't buy any in-game currency to unlock the stuff you wanted, but it was suspiciously hard and really grindy if you actually wanted to unlock everything. So, unsurprisingly, just a few months after the release, Activision, like I said, made it possible to buy in-game currency. You could be charitable and say the publisher was just trying to increase the longevity of the game, or you could say they're trying to squeeze as much money as possible from their loyal fans. Honestly, it sucks either way, who cares? And on a number 5, Call of Duty Mobile allegedly rigging their Halloween event. Now, obviously, it's Call of Duty, a series that is already heavily criticized for its microtransaction policies, but on mobile, it's just the Wild West. Anything goes there. So how this all works and how people figured out there was rigging going on is actually pretty complicated. Check out Pick Rickles' video on this if you want all the details, but basically what seems like it happened was the store displayed 10 items for this Halloween event. It made it seem like you could get any of them randomly, including what everybody probably wanted, the unique AK and skeleton skin, but after some research it became pretty obvious that you will never get the skin or the unique gun until after you've gotten everything else. Everyone who rolled for these items didn't get the skin or the gun until the 9th roll, every single time. What makes it worse is that the cost of the spin goes up every time you attempt one, so it starts cheap around 400 CP, then it goes higher and higher until it's 10,000. So yeah, you're supposed to have an even chance of getting everything in the roll, but the stuff that people actually want, you'll never get that stuff until you get everything else, meaning after you spend more than $100. Moving on to number 4, Ghost Recon Breakpoint's EXP boosters. Now, Breakpoint has got a lot of problems, like bugs, it's kind of boring, it's got this weird online-only stuff, and just a whole lot of bugs. But the worst thing about it, it feels like it's all in service of microtransactions. Every new addition and change from Wildlands, the Division-like gun levels, the tedious survival mechanics, the online-only requirement, the janky multiplayer space, it all feels like stuff they put in just to push the microtransactions harder. The actual microtransactions themselves aren't terrible. They're pretty much identical to the ones you'll find in Ubisoft's other games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, The Division 2, but in those games they don't feel nearly as intrusive and bad as this one. Experience boosters are a thing in those games, but you never feel like you need them. Here, progression is so glacially slow that it really means they're pressuring you to use one. Same with guns, as all the ones you find in loot boxes are really never all that good. It just goes to show you that microtransactions don't necessarily ruin a game. Odyssey is actually an awesome game, but when the game is made noticeably worse because of their inclusion, there is a problem. At number 3 is Fallout First, a subscription service which is broken and fracturing the community. Not exactly a microtransaction, but a subscription that gets you microtransaction items. It's $100 for a yearly subscription, $13 a month, and what does it get you? Well, probably the main thing is private server access, which the game really should have had at the start, a scrap box with unlimited storage, which should also have been in the game already, a survival tent, which makes the game a lot easier to survive in, and here's the microtransactions. You get 1,650 atoms per month to use in the Atom Shot. Almost enough to make your power armor blue, which costs 1,800 atoms. And number 2 is Mario Kart Tour. Let's see if my blood pressure can handle this one. It's kind of sad to see the franchises that Nintendo puts on mobile turn into free-to-play garbage, but when games like Super Mario Run, which was very light on microtransactions, fail, and games like Fire Emblem Mobile, which are stuffed to the brim with gacha game stuff, do incredibly well financially speaking, it's easy to see why Mario Kart Tour is the way it is. That doesn't mean we have to like it though. Pretty much every free-to-play mobile game trap is in here. Energy timers, premium currency, annoying challenges you have to grind, and even a Fallout 1 style subscription that unlocks requested features that are behind a paywall. In Mario Kart, as usual for these kinds of games, it doesn't seem to be too bad at first. It's not until you finish your first cup that the game ambushes you with as many exploitative microtransactions as possible. And even on top of this, the game isn't that much fun. You're forced to use awkward gyro controls instead of just directly controlling your racer like any other Mario Kart game, and it's just an all-around drag. And finally, at number 1, the Apex Legends Iron Crown loot box controversy. What happened was Respawn, the developers of Apex Legends, decided, or more likely EA management decided, to very aggressively price the microtransactions you get during this Iron Crown limited time event that introduced solo lobbies into the game. Of course, they also introduced new microtransactions, basically like a Fortnite season pass. That's fine, I guess, at least speaking relatively to some other things. But there's a lot of problems with this thing. You can only grind for 2 of the total 24 loot boxes available, and if you want to get the rarest item, this special heirloom axe, you have to just straight buy it with 3,500 Apex coins. But you can't get it until you get everything else. So if you want everything, you're gonna have to spend at minimum $170. That's 22 loot boxes at $7 a piece and the additional cost of the axe itself. So that's pretty bad. And it really didn't help that one of the developers went on Reddit and called most players freeloaders, which is not really the best way to get anyone on your side. At all. Ever. Don't ever do that, developers, especially on the behest of the publisher demanding you do something like that. Because I'd be willing to bet if one of the developers of this game did that, it's because they were told they need to go on and defend. Remember who holds the power in these situations, folks. It ain't the developers, it's the publishers. And remember, they're under pressure. Still, the optics of that are absolutely nightmarish. So what do you think? What were the worst microtransactions you had to deal with this year? Were they on this list, or were they something else? Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click the like button, and if you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at FalconHero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.